How old were you when your dad was arrested?
Let's see, how was I? I was the third, I think I was on the second grade of school.
When did you start writing?
Uh, I guess I was pretty good in storytelling. In high school, Greek grammar course and the literature courses, they were separate courses, but their grades were combined. And I was terrible in the grammar, spelling, and the Greek verbs are so. But I was writing good stories, and the average, always got me a passing grade. Uh, the writing, I didn't take it until recently, until the 2000s or something. At one time, at the Adult Center, they were offering creative writing courses. So I thought I would take it to improve my vocabulary, and I started writing short courses, short stories, and they liked it and all that. And then it was about the time the book Angela's Ashes came out, and the Midnight at the Garden of Good and Evil and all those things. And I thought I'll write a book about the Greeks in Mobile or something. I say with a sharp pencil and a good eraser, I can create empires. I can make my hero to tell his boss to take a job and shove it, and go down the street and get a better job. And all. In reality, you cannot do that. Before you tell your boss what to do, you think about the car payments. You are 1 month behind, and the braces, the kid needs, and all of that. I find it relaxing, that. So far, I wrote 3 books, and I'm working on the other.
Your most recent book, let me just look real quick. The when you talk about a water stain on the ceiling of 3 naked women line dancing.
Yes. You have to think the person narrating that is a 25-year-old ex-merchant seaman. So it is, I mean, the priorities of a merchant seaman when they reach a port are slightly different than the average tourist. The first things they hit, it's not the art galleries or the museums or the lecture halls. The writing is a hobby. Had I expected to live from it, I would be a very skinny person. But
when did you get into theater, community theater?
When I was in high school, I used to get involved in plays and all of that. And I think it was 2004. So, the community theater here was advertising, having auditions for Fiddler on the Roof. And I thought I'll give it a try. And surprisingly enough, I got a part. Right now, we are in rehearsals on a play. It's opening night is 2 weeks from now. Murder on the Orient Express. So, yes, it's always a pleasant feeling later when you see that the audience get the joke and they laugh and all that. And I keep saying I am involved in this, in writing and theater and all that, because I'm too cheap to play golf. The area where I was born, being a small village, in the era that I was born, that was before the area was discovered by the tourists and before the communications. Uh, it it always instilled in people a desire to see beyond the mountain ridge, to see beyond the horizon. During the era of the Civil War, it was a bad period. You don't have freedom of speech. It's everybody who had a grudge against somebody would go to the police or would go to the other side and say, this fellow is a supporter of the other side. And the food was scarce, the uncertainty of the future was, in one case, for instance, a group of partisans came into our farmhouse on a rainy November day, it was, and they came in out of the rain, and they sat there, and they asked for something to eat, and then their leader there picked into the stables. They saw our ram. You said, we haven't had a decent meal for a long time. So they took our ram out and they slaughtered it. And about 2 weeks later, that group was trapped in a barn somewhere, and everybody was arrested by the army. And during the interrogation, when they tried to find out who their supporters are and all, they said, oh, yes, we went to the Pitsios household and they fed us. And as a matter of fact, they gave us. So they came and arrested my father. And until the trial came and he was acquitted, he ended up spending about 6 to 8 months in jail. One of my classmates, his grandfather, ended up working for the rest of his life with 2 crutches because somebody went to the police and said, this guy has a wireless radio in his chestnut grove up in the mountain and communicates with the communists. So the guy was stone deaf for many years, but the fellow said, no, the deafness is fake. He's just faking it. So they kept beating the guy until to confess. So he ended up working with. And a lot of instances, hundreds and hundreds of instances like that. That period, my growing period, it was the movement of the population was like the tide. When the Germans came in, all the people from the cities moved out to the villages where they could cultivate gardens and have some livestock because food was very scarce. Then after the Germans left and the partisans started roaming in the countryside, the people from the village moved into the cities where it was more protected. You keep hitting me with some heavy questions. Those heavy things, are to be discussed in a village square under a plane tree, in a coffee house with a good komboloi, with a good set of worry beads, occupying 3 chairs, 2 Greeks sitting are capable of solving all world's conspiracies and all that.
It's also the character and stuff, but do you believe that if a man hasn't traveled, he hasn't lived?
Well, in my opinion, yes. Now, there are people who never went beyond the county line, wherever they live. And they too lived quite content, happy lives. My father was like that. I remember one time I had flown to Cape Town, South Africa, on business, and on the way back, I stopped in Athens, stopped in the village and visited my parents. And during the conversation, I said, yes, I didn't have to go to Cape Town. I could have sent somebody else for that job, but I thought I wanted to go and see the place. Why? He said, he can see things over here. My father, in the morning, he can get up. He looks from our courtyard, you could see beyond the island of Skiathos and Skopelos and so. And that was it, Occasionally, you go to the big city for supplies. That's about it. When I moved into the South here in Alabama, it was just shortly after the Cuban Missile Crisis. And Cubans, they were very much in the news. And everyone who heard me speaking with an accent, the first question was, are you Cuban? Are you Cuban? And also, a lot of the average country people, they have a perception that white people are our own kind, and then there's the other kind. I remember when I was working at the shipyard, for instance, at one time I was a foreman on a group of people over there, and the supervisor came along to check and see how we were coming along on that project. And I told him, and he noticed my accent. He said, "You're not from around here, are you? Are you?" I said, "Yes, I'm from Greece." "Oh, you're from Greece. That fellow of yours." That was the time Onassis had married Jacqueline and made big news. "That fellow of yours, what's his name? He married that white woman, the Kennedy girl." I asked the guy after, I said, "Where are you from?" "Oh, I was born and raised here." I said, "Well, don't feel bad. Nobody's perfect." I don't know how far you got in the book, but at some point, Costas, that he attends adult education classes to learn English. And there he meets people from all over the world, and they all have the same goals. So that's what I'm going to do before. They have the same goals, the same, and they go through the same, and they're being taken advantage the same way by unscrupulous employers. By some fortunate turn of events, there were not any captain's schools close to my village, and my father thought it was unsafe at such a young age to send far away to Athens and big cities where they had the captain's schools. But there was a school for marine engineers in Lamia, which was, in my father's perception of things, Lamia was a small town, primarily farm town, and farmers were more honest people than city slickers of the big cities. So I ended up becoming a marine engineer, which in retrospect, looking back now, my character and are better suited in engineering than being a captain. So that turned out all right. I left after I graduated from the Maritime Academy, which was in 1961.
Okay.
I flew to Egypt. I joined the ship there, and I sailed for a number of years. And by I never really planned to settle in the United States. It just happened. It was a twist of fate that I met my wife, and after I met her, all the high notions of settling in some other faraway exotic place went down. Yeah. One of the quotes there is that he said, nothing has gone according to my master plan. And that is the good news, because had it done, I would have settled for much less than what I'm blessed. So that is, in my case, it's the same thing. Nothing has gone according to the master plan, and that was the good news.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Who produces more cucumbers, Greece or Turkey?
I assume Turkey. They have
Turkey.
more real estate to plant them.
Okay. All right. Who has taller people on average? Guatemala, the Philippines, or Greece?
They're all short.
Okay. Aristotle Onassis, his famous yacht, named it for his daughter. Did he name it Tammy Lynn?
It's Christina.
Oh, Christina, not Chantel. Okay. All right. Okay.
And I met the gentleman, actually. I met the gentleman. He came in Nassau.
He visited and the Greek community over there had a dinner for him one time. And also one time I saw him, I was in the island of Hydra, and he and entourage came and occupied the table next to us. And it was shortly after his divorce with his first wife, with the Livanos girl. So just to get, we used to drink our ruse and toast each other, cheers, long live Livanos.